Inshallah, today I'm going to present the second part of the data analysis in Python. And as you have seen before, we are using the pandas tool. So today we are going to cover the following concepts. The first thing is to explore the data and slicing. We will do slicing whenever we want to. Whenever we want to select some part of the data, we do slicing. We will see how to make slicing either with the column or column-wise or row-wise. Also, we will use statistical aggregation commands like if you know about the average, how to calculate the average, how to calculate the mode, the range, and all of these statistical operations. We will use it, and we will be able to calculate the statistics. And also, we will add a calculated column, and we join two data frames together. If you have two data frames, you want to join them to make the data analysis from both of them at the same time, you can use join two data frames. And finally, after your analysis, you want to write down whatever you have done into a data frame or a file. So we will be able to write that into a file in Excel sheet, and you can see the results in Excel sheet. Of course, this is important because after you finish all your analysis, you want to present or make graphs other than the graphs done by Python. You can open the file in Excel sheet, and then you can also use Excel tools to make graphs. So we will just see these columns, and then we will. Tfaddal. Any problem? Okay. So I think you can see my slides right now, and also you can see my slides right now, and you can see the cursor. Let me see if you.
Yes, sir. We can.
Okay. Sorry, because I see some Okay. So we will see here that if we write down the data frame, the name of the data frame like this, it is going. Let me see the screen cursor, pointer. The data frame, if we write down the data frame immediately and run, it will be displayed. The data frame itself will be displayed. And then the data frame.columns, it will display all the columns inside the data frame, and length of the data frame is going to display how many rows in that data frame. And data frame.shape is going to display the number of rows and columns of the data frame. And the data frame.shape of zeros is going to display how many rows are there in this data frame. And finally, the data frame.shape of one is going to display how many columns are there in this data frame. So all of these commands are very easy and straightforward. Whenever you write down them, you will see the immediate result. But first of all, we have to read the Excel sheet. So the first thing to do is to read an Excel sheet and then start to work on it. So when we go together now to the Jupyter Notebook, I'm sharing my screen, so I hope you are seeing the Jupyter Notebook. You can see we have done this before. We have seen that marks here is an Excel sheet contains a collection of marks, and we have also let me remember the name of the file, lab task, and then in the lab task I have done some operations. So let us open the lab task and then start doing or continuing our. First of all, we import pandas. I will do all things here to appear to you as one cell. So import pandas, as PD. So we run this. Okay, so it's running, completed running, and then we copy this. We copy this. We put it down there. We want to put all the code in one cell, and then also, okay, I think we didn't, okay, these are not important here. We want only to be able to see the data frame itself. This is the data frame. Let's run this again. Okay, it's running and it's fine, everything's fine. But when we write down the grades here, the first line here is saying if you write down the name of the data frame, it will display the data frame itself. So when I write the grades like this, it will display the data frame, completely display all the data frame. So it displays all the columns and rows of the data frame. And the second one is data frame.columns. If you just write down columns here, it will display the columns. So these are the names of the columns, the ID, the division, the quiz, the practical, the project, the final. All these are the data frame columns, the names of the columns. So whenever you write grades.columns, it's going to display all the names of the columns inside that data frame. Okay, excuse me for a second. I'm going to be back to you. I'm sending something. Just give me a second, few seconds. اوكي ثانية واحدة. Okay, so we displayed the columns. Also, we can use len here. We can use len of grades like this. We can say len of grades. Len of grades to display how many rows are there. So it's going to display we have 24 rows. So len of frames, and also data frame.shape. So we can say the grades dot shape of 0. Oh, sorry, dot shape, only dot shape, and we will see the result. It's going to display we have 24 rows and we have 6 columns. If you want the rows only to make it 0, so it will display the rows only. If you want the columns only, you will display 1. So this is going to display the rows and columns. The shape is going to display the rows and columns. If you want a specific one of them, you can either use shape of 0 to refer to the rows, or shape of 1 to refer to the columns. Okay, so all of these items are finished. we understand now how to do all of these operations. Here's an example. He has he used some examples in the slides. The data to display all the data the data is a data frame, so it display all the data content. Data.columns display all the names of the columns. The data.shape is displaying how many rows and how many columns. Len of data is displaying how many rows. And data of shape.0 rows and data of shape.1 columns. All of these operations we have seen how to do them. We move to something else. We move to how to display specific parts of the data frame. For example, if you want to display the first 5 rows of the data frame, you use .head. If you use data frame.head of n, this means you want to display specific number in the beginning. And if you want to display how many the last 5 rows, and it's interesting why we need to display the last 5 rows. Do you know the answer? يعني we have head. We can display the first 5 rows, but just to know the shape of the data frame, to know the names of the columns and so forth. But why we need to display the last 5 rows of the data frame? Why it is important? What do you think? حد معايا؟
Sir, we are, but I
Yes,
think,
sir.
like
Okay.
for example, if you write a code, so let's say if any NA, so that's like a blank space, is like for the first row it's empty, and then for the last row maybe some characters are there which are like not correct. I believe just to look if the code is run through the entire table.
There are some
Okay.
like missing comments or like missing like sections in the columns. I think that's what's going on.
Maybe okay, you are saying that you may be missing some data or some, I don't know. I cannot understand what you aim to, but anyway, it's the same. But when we talk about the tail, we are displaying the last few rows, because whenever we add something to the data frame, it will be displayed at the end. So if you want to know if it is added or not, you can display the tail, not the head. Okay, يعني لو احنا عندنا داتا فريم، الداتا فريم دي عايزين نعرف وبنضيف عليها، لما تيجي تضيف بتضيف في اخرها. طب انا عايز اشوف اتضاف ولا ما اتضافش، فبستخدم التيل عشان اشوف بعناية ان الروز اللي انا بضيفها اتضافت فعلا ولا لا. Okay, so that's why we need head and we have tail also. The tail also has this magic number. You can put the number of rows that you want to display at the end. You want to display, for example, 10 rows at the end or 5 rows at the end according to this n. Also, we have also the slicing, or it's not a slicing actually. This is displaying specific part in the data frame. For example, you want to display the first row to the last, the first column to the last column. These are rows. Okay, these are rows. So if you want to display the rows from the start row to the end row, as I told you, end plus 1 means it is not including that number, it is including the number before that number. And also here, if you want to display some parts in the data frame, but they are not consecutive columns, they are jumping, or they are not consecutive, means they are not behind each other. They have a step. You have to jump in a step. For example, if you want to display all odd numbered columns or all the even numbered columns, this way you are going to use this type of indexing. And here you can write down the name of the column to display it, or you can display a collection of columns, of specific columns. So in short, here we display specific parts, the head and the tail. The head is displaying the first rows, first 5 rows, and the tail is displaying the last 5 rows. And here we display rows, and here we display columns. Okay, so in short, this is rows and this is columns. If you want to display specific rows, you are going to use this style. If you want to display specific columns, you can use this style. Of course, you can combine both of them, but not for this part. It's iLook. I will display it soon. But let's try to run these columns, these commands, and see the results. Let's go and see. Here we can say grades dot head is going to display the first 5 rows. These are the first 5 rows, and tail is going to display the last 5 rows. These are the last 5 rows, because you know this is 19 and this is 23. And also you can say I want to display the last 10 rows. Oh, it's okay, no problem. You just write down tail of 10 and is going to display the last 10 rows, starting from 14 to 20 to 23. This way we can display some parts of the data frame. Okay, returning back to see what we are missing here. Let's try to display specific rows here. So I want to display from starting from the second row to the 5th row. So starting from the 2nd row to the 5th row, we have to write 6 here, because 6 is not including 6 up to 6, but not including the 6. So this is grades of 2 to 5, and this is going to display the 2nd row to the 5th row. As you see, not including the 6th row, because as I told you, the index here is important because it will not include the margin of the index. So the 6 here, see, 6 here is not including, but 5 is included, as you see here in the result. Okay, this is the way how to display rows. If you want to display only the odd numbered rows, starting from 0, I think the step is the beginning or the middle. Yeah, step at the end. So starting from here to the last one was 24 to the last one, which is 24, and step 2. Let's try to. This is even numbered rows, and let's try to see. As you see, all the even numbered rows 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so forth. So all the even numbered rows are displayed. If you want to display the odd numbered rows, this is going to just put here 1, and it's going to display all the odd numbered rows. Also, you can use this way to display specific column name. So for example, if you want to display, let's see what columns we have here. Let's see columns. Okay, we have division, practical, project. Okay, let's see project. Let's display the project column. So we do it like this. We do it like this. Project. Make sure that the spelling is correct and the P is capital letter, not small letter. Okay, let's try to see the result. Here we have the project column, and including all the related data. Okay, so this is the way to display specific column. But if I want to display many columns, let's return back to see. Also, we have a final. But here, at this time, if you want to display more than one column, you have to add this bracket again. You have to add it again. Another time, I mean 2 times. It's two brackets, not 1 bracket. And then we want to add the final. I think there is a column named final. Okay, let's display, and it's going to display it for us. the project and the final, so it displays only the project and the final columns here in this display. Okay, so now we train on all the possibilities of displaying all things inside the data frame. We can now display all the columns, all the specific parts of the columns. We can display the beginning of the data frame, the end of the data frame. We can display a collection of rows, a collection of columns, whatever we want to display, we are able to display. And here's an example. We have the display top rows. This is data dot head, and then display the first 3 rows only by data dot head of 3, and also display the last 5 rows by using data dot tail, and data dot tail of 6 is displaying the last 6 rows, and display specific rows here. This is going to display the row number 10 until to row number 9, because as I told you, 10 is not included. Here, data of 3 to 12 with the step 3, this is going to display every 3 columns. So it's going to display the 3rd column, the 9th column, the 6th column, and the 9th column. So this is the way to display specific parts of the data frame. You have any questions this part? Any questions? Do you have any questions? No? Yes? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay. The data of specialization is going to display a specific column. And here the data of specialization enrolled post and graduate post is going to display specific column names or specific columns inside the data frame. And here we go, we have something interesting here, the slicing. This word is very important. It's like slicing. Slicing is cutting piece of the data frame. It's like slicing pizza. If you want to take part of the pizza, it's going to slice. Take a slice of that pizza. We're doing that with the data frame. We will cut the data frame into pieces, and we pick up one of these pieces. Actually, we will pick up our pieces immediately. So this is the slicing. The slicing is very powerful if you want to make analysis, because sometimes you want to say, okay, this part of the data frame is correct and all the data is correct. I want to take it. I want to extract it. So this way you can extract that part and make your analysis on it and ignore the other parts. What is the tool we are going to use to help us making slicing? We use lock, L-O-C. We use lock. Okay, the lock is going to tell us you can display here. You can make display or make a slice or take a copy of that from the start row to the end row and from the start column to the end column. If we want to analyze this command, is very straightforward. The data frame is the name of the data frame object in our example is data 1 or data 2, and the lock is the function that is going to make the slicing for us. And make sure that you are using the square brackets, not any other brackets. And the starting row is representing the first row in your targeted data. If you want data starting from row 0, then leave it empty. Just write the column. And the column is the separated that start the end of the rows. And here this represents the last row in your targeted data. If you want all the data to the end, then leave this empty. And this is the starting column, and here you specify the first column name. Please note that you should use column name and not numbers. Here, for the rows, you can use numbers, but for the columns, you should use names. And here also the column is a separator between the start column and the end column. And here, this is the end column. You specify the last column. Note that you should use column name and not numbers. Okay, so this is like يعني displaying all the parts of that column, that command, because it is important to understand each piece of that command, because if you misunderstand something, maybe the results will be totally different. And here is an example. A data.lock is going to display from the second column, from the second row to the fourth row should be, not including here. This is the not including is not applied here, only here in the lock. So it displays the second row, third row, fourth row, and fifth row. Okay, the rule of not including the end is not applied in the lock, and this is really confusing, but you have to keep it like this. And here the start column is the higher education institution column, and the end column is enrolled postgraduate column. We want to make an example of this. Okay, we want to make an example of this slicing. We can say sliced. Let me see the grades. I want to see the grades, so I say head to see all the columns and rows, or mostly the rows and the columns. We have division, we have quiz. Let me say I want to display starting from the practical to the final, from the practical to the final. Okay, from the practical to the final. So what should I do from the practical to the final? But I want to display from row 10 to row 15, for example, from row 10 to row 15, from the practical to the final. Okay, so what I'm going to do is making the brackets here, and from the 10th rows, from the 10th row to the 15th row, and the columns from the practical to the final. Two. This is, we read it like two. Final. Practical. And make sure the spelling and the case, letter case, make sure all of these are correct, and then start to run this command. Let me see. We have an error here. I think we should use what? We should use, I think so. I think we should use something like this. Let me try. Okay, let me return back to see what's happening. Okay. Oh, sorry, lock, L-O-C, grades.lock. I forget the function itself, and that's the big problem here. So here, okay, here we go. This is very good. Let me try it. Okay, now here the result. It appears here as we expected. We display from the practical to the final, and here the 10th rows to the from the 10th row to the 15th row. We can now see that slicing is working. It's like cutting a piece of pizza. It's like cutting a piece of our data frame. Okay, so now we can say, okay, I want to keep this sliced into sliced grades equal to that, and then run it, and to see we have that sliced grades. We can display the sliced grades after. Sorry, this is not copy. It's copy. Now is okay. So this is the sliced grade. Is totally new data frame. Is new data frame. This is very interesting because now we obtained a slice. It's not just the display, but we obtained a slice of the original data frame, which is grades. Okay. And here we have another example. You can display specific rows like to separate them with comma, like 3, 5, and 7. These are the specific rows, and also here you can display specific columns by separating them by column. It's like if you want to print a document, you can print from page 1 to page 9 by using 1 to 9, and then if you want to display or to print specific, if you want to specific pages, you can write down the pages 1, 3, 5, and so forth with comma separating style. Here also, if you want to display a specific row or a specific column, you have to use the comma separated style. So let's return back and display some specific rows and columns with the comma separated. Okay, I want to display this, sorry. I want to display this, the second row, the 10th row, and the 23rd row. And also I want to display the final and the project. So I want to display, I have to put it inside a bracket and say, I want to display the final and the project. Only the project, not all of them. Final and the project. And let me see if this is working. Yeah, it's working. That's good. We displayed only the second row, the 10th row, and the 23rd row. Okay, and we have this small slices. Like if you are hungry, you cannot eat this. It will not be sufficient. So this is very small slice here we obtained from using the data.log. We have some interesting lock function, but this time is not lock, it is iLock. I is like integer number. You are using integer numbers to display, okay, to display using, or to take a slice using integer numbers. Is like the I here is referring to integer numbers, means you have to put some integer numbers in the brackets here. For example, from 2 to 5 means you are displaying, sorry, from 2 to 5 here means you are displaying, and the second row to the fourth row in this time. Only look, as I told you, not including is not applied, but here is applied again. So it doesn't display the fifth row. And here from 0 to 2, it will display the first and the second rows only, column only, column number 0, sorry, column number 0 and column number 1, not including the 2. Here, row number 2, row number 3, row number 4, not including the fifth. Okay, so it's important to differentiate between both of them. Let's return back and try to use the iLock. It's very interesting, actually. Let's try to add the I here. This means we can use the numbers instead of names. So we can display from the second row to the third row. Sorry, this is going to display only one row. We can display to the fourth row, is going to display 2 rows. And from the column number 2 to the column number 5. Okay, let me see this interesting result. Here we have the result. This is a very small slice also compared to the previous slices. Okay, mainly we can reach to whatever part we want in the data frame and display it, or even take a snapshot of it and save it into a separate slice. Okay. So we covered the iLock. I think we covered too much things today. Okay, we are leaving the remaining parts to the break, after the break, inshallah. Okay, so I will stop for now. And